The pandemic forced everyone to shift to the virtual world, the only option to survive this difficult period of uncertainty. To talk more around this transformation, we have a storytelling session by Prabir Jha, founder and CEO Prabir Jha People Advisory, to talk on Beneath the Heart transformation.
Hi, everyone. Delighted to be sharing some time with you and some thoughts as you go through what I'm sure is a very exciting conference that all of you are enjoying. I have been thinking, reflecting of my own experiences of driving digital transformation. And I wanted to share a little episode of something I experienced many decades ago as a young civil servant probationer at the academy. It was our last days in the academy, and there was a professor of law who was asking us that if you were confronted by an armed mob of 5,000 people and you were unarmed and alone, what would you do? Now, all of us bright young probationers finishing our training started thinking of different sections of the IPC, the CRPC, and stuff like that. And the old professor kept smiling. And then we were exhausted. And we said, which other section, which other law is it that we are not able to recall? And then he finally smiled and said, when you are in that situation, alone and unarmed, with 5,000 armed and violent mob ahead of you, you have only two options. Either you have to have presence of mind or the absence of body. There is no third alternative. Now, why did I share this story? I shared this story is because many a time when we embark on this journey of digital transformation, we do it far more clinically than what I think we should be doing. And that is why we implement an intervention, but the intervention never really delivers the promise that it on paper had. And in the little time I have, I want to leave 3 or 4 strong points for you to reflect in your own experience and journey as you take on these challenges. The first, and in some ways these are enterprise risks. Digital transformation is actually more a soft transformation than a hard transformation. And unfortunately, we have made it appear that technology or the platform is really the be all and end all of transformation. It doesn't actually pan out that way. The first stakeholder group that I think can make or mar your digital transformation journey is your leadership. Maybe your top leadership, maybe your middle leadership. I have seen from my own experience, many leadership teams take their time, but finally sign off the investment. But they don't necessarily sign off their ownership. They don't necessarily sign off on their cooperation and sponsorship of the delivery and actioning of that intervention. Which means what? Their mindsets have not moved. Their thinking has not changed. Their behavior has not changed. So what you do is you've automated a process, but really how the system works is as was. And over time, it ossifies and finally is put to disuse. So the practice of change by the leaders is very critical. The ownership of change is very critical by the owners. And I think somewhere we don't really pay close heed to what they are saying or not saying. What is their body language? And at the end of the day, is there some diffidence? Is there some worry and fear of the past or of the future that typically a transformation of this kind will engender? So please make sure that leadership is truly and fully co-opted, not only in the decision, but actually in the transition to the new world. First point. The second, I believe culture is a very important dimension that you must factor in when you think about digital transformation. Such transformations can dramatically change your culture. And any change actually puts a lot of people to discomfort just because it's different. It's like getting off your bed from the other side the next morning. It is different. It is not easy for us to feel comfortable about it. So while digital transformation can help you change cultures, cultures can also impair the effectiveness of digital transformation. It unleashes, the exercise unleashes information democracy. It actually breaks down silos. It actually offers greater transparency. It disturbs the political coalition, it challenges status quo, none of which is comforting. And all of these have strong cultural underpinnings, some stated and some possibly a little more sublime. What is your ability and willingness to acknowledge and deal with these challenges of culture, either helping culture morph or ensuring culture does not derail your digital transformation experience? So again, apply judgment. Don't just assume that it's a cookie cutter. You've taken that so-called law professor example and just put it in because the question is coming from that context. So apply mind, apply judgment, and keep your antenna out. The third thing that I feel is very important that when you do digital transformation is to look at your talent and skills. You see, many a time companies do try and help train the current set of people to move to the new world. And that's the right way. You try and enable, you try and coach, you try and give them skills, classrooms, and whatever else. But my own experience has been that some people do not still make the cut. And we take far too much time trying to live in hope that someday people will transition. Second, some talent and skills become obsolete. Some jobs are made redundant. What do you do with such people? If redeployment of those skills are not feasible and practical, I think you should bite the bullet in a nice way, but make sure you save your people. Having a lot of naysayers, a lot of dissidents, skeptics, critics in the system when you're trying to migrate to a very new world needs a very different mindset, a different skill set. Those who do not or cannot or will not, I think you must make sure you cut your losses quickly with them. Otherwise, it actually creates far more noise, and such change efforts actually lose a lot of positive momentum. Despite people acknowledging its change, despite people knowing that things are going to be different, people want to make the effort, and those who hold them back actually are people who need to be dealt fairly, but also very squarely. And the last thing that I want to talk about, which again sometimes is not fully addressed. So we kind of get in and bolt on a technology solution, but we don't necessarily review our organization design, our organization architecture. We don't use this opportunity of pushing decision-making and accountability to where it can be delivered in the new world, enabled by a lot of the technology tools that we have. So jobs that were getting done 2 levels or 3 levels higher in many cases can come down, freeing these people and these levels to do what they are paid for, higher value-add jobs. Now, this doesn't happen because changing an organization design, again, has a lot of political connotations, has personality connotation, has turf connotations. And the decision rights do not also necessarily and logically get morphed to getting pushed down to appropriate levels because technology enables it, but this somewhere lags behind. And if you don't get the two to tango, chances are that from an effectiveness exercise, you are suboptimal. You may have improved on some efficiency parameters, but the transformation has not been effective enough. So 4 key things: leadership, role, attitude, ownership, mindset, culture. What do you want to get to? What will you change? And how do you make sure that you actually recognize culture as a very integral aspect of change management? Third, talent and skills, those who can make the cut, and what do you do with those who don't make the cut? And last, your organization architecture and your entire organization processes of taking decisions. Are you able to make sure that you're pushing decision-making lower in the organization and freeing up, therefore, a lot of space for senior leaders? So this is really something that you should keep in mind as you embark or as you tackle one of the best things that technology enables organizations to do: change the organizations to a better form, to a better culture, and to a better ecosystem. Good luck with your exercise and enjoy your conference.
Thank you, Mr. Jha, for an interesting session. Stay tuned and keep tweeting.